Any views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on the Rejuvenating Health podcast are solely those of the speakers and are intended as such. Please consult your trusted healthcare practitioner for medical advice. Let's go, girls. Hey, ladies. Welcome back to the Rejuvenating Health podcast. I'm Lindsay, your nurse practitioner and functional medicine clinician. And today we're going to talk about a term that I'm sure that you've heard, especially if you've ever looked into GLP-1s. You've heard the surrounding term about food noise and how it decreases food noise. But essentially, food noise is that constant mental chatter about food and thinking about what you'll eat next, judging what you just ate, or like feeling like you're never satisfied. And I feel like probably every single listener of you have had food noise at some point. If you haven't, lucky you, but I'm pretty sure that everyone has had some kind of food chatter in their head before.
Yeah, I think especially as women in our society, right? It would be rare to not experience it, even if it wasn't something that would have come about on its own, right? Like there's just so much influence and so many things that are marketed to us all the time, and so much talk about it that even if it wasn't something that kind of manifested on its own internally, it would come up at some point just by way of comparison, right? And so if you've ever thought like, oh, like, why can't I just stop thinking about food? You're definitely not alone. It's very, very prevalent. We hear about it all the time. And today we're going to unpack what's really happening with that, like in the body and the brain, why and when the food noise is so loud, that it's not really a matter of just as simple as willpower, and how to rebuild some calm, confident action that'll help your relationship with food, ideally, is the goal.
Yeah. So, I mean, first, let's just really dig into like what food noise really is. And there's a clinical aspect to it. And food noise is essentially your brain's over activation of reward, right? Of hunger and stress pathways. So it's what happens when hormones like ghrelin and leptin, which we've talked about before, they control your hunger and fullness, get out of sync. So when ghrelin, which is your hungry hormone, stays elevated, which happens when, you don't get good sleep or you're stressed out, stuff like that. And when leptin, your fullness hormone, they aren't being heard by your hypothalamus, which is your appetite control center. Sometimes your hypothalamus can just never get a clear signal because these hormones are so disrupted and dysregulated. So even when you're physically fed, like your stomach is full, your brain is still getting these really mixed signals.
Yeah, and it's on the emotional side, it feels like an obsession, right? So you are probably eating, but maybe not feeling nourished. You're using a lot of mental energy, right? So, especially if we're meal planning and prepping and potentially restricting or trying to compensate for calories somewhere along the way, over time, that's very exhausting. I can't tell you how many women, and I felt this, right? It's like, oh my gosh, like I have to decide what to eat every day for the rest of my life, right? Like sometimes it feels a little overwhelming or a little fatiguing. And that is often coming from your nervous system not feeling safe or consistent around food, because at some point in your life, and this is why it is so prevalent with women, we have either restricted or tried to adjust our food environment or been super, super mindful and counting calories, like every single thing that goes into our mouth. Like this doesn't come from nowhere. It's not present just on its own. It's because at some point we've tried to modify or become obsessed with every component of food in a way that doesn't keep food neutral. It assigns it a meaning.
And it doesn't just have to do with ghrelin and leptin. I mean, I can tell you from age 16 probably until 32, like the food noise was yikes. I don't know. I mean, it was so bad for me, especially like you can be overweight and have food noise. You can have an eating disorder and have food noise. You can be a normal human being walking down the street and have food noise. And for me, it was definitely like an emotional regulation issue. But it's not a discipline issue. Like if you're having food noise, I want you to acknowledge that it's not something that you can control. You can't just tell your mind like, "Hey, stop thinking about food." We recognize that it's really hard and it's easy to give into it, right? It's easy to give in to those cravings and that food noise that you're having, and it's your body's circuitry just not firing properly, right? So there are some biological things that can happen when you have food noise. Some of it could be blood sugar lethality, right? And a lot of women don't eat enough protein and eat too many carbs, and this causes a ton of food noise, right? So you're eating a high carbohydrate meal, your blood sugar spikes, you get an insulin release, then that insulin brings that blood sugar down, and you feel that drop, and it feels like hunger, right?
Hmm.
That blood sugar drop is like, oh, I'm hungry because it that crash increases your ghrelin and cortisol, your stress hormone, and it makes your food preoccupation spike essentially.
Yeah, because there's like
Um,
essentially a drop in energy, right? So
yeah, and you're
you're
like, I
it's
need
like
to feed.
tricking your body into like, oh, I need more energy, aka more calories.
Yeah, yeah. There is such a thing as leptin resistance, and you can actually test your leptin hormone. We don't do it a lot, but it is something that you can test, and you can have leptin resistance. And if you're someone that has chronic inflammation or insulin resistance, your brain literally stops hearing leptin. So even after eating, that like satiety switch doesn't flip. Like you just
Yeah.
don't feel full. Or you might feel full, like your stomach might feel full, but I'm sure everyone's had that. We're like, I'm full, but oh, I'm craving chocolate. I'm gonna go eat a piece of chocolate. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
and I want to caveat though, like that's like the leptin resistance is not going to be the norm, right?
no, no, no.
Like it's not
I don't
something
want
where it's like,
everyone
oh,
saying, yeah,
I'm constantly having cravings, so I much must be leptin resistant,
yeah.
right? It's like that's not usually the case. It's usually a lot more to do with your food environment and what's contributed to the way that you feel about food up until that point. So again, I think what happens commonly is like, and I get it. People want the smoking gun, like they want something to
Hmm.
blame, and so I just like to put that out there when it comes to certain things like that. That is the exception, not the norm.
Yeah, I think the next thing we're going to talk about is probably more of the norm, and that's some
Hmm.
dopamine dysregulation, right? Um, we're eating a lot of highly processed foods that are literally made to make you addicted to them. Like
Yeah,
they're chemically processed to flood your dopamine, your reward neurotransmitter. And so over time, your brain is going to downregulate those dopamine receptors and you need more stimulation. So you need more sugar, more salt, more crunch, more pizza, more whatever to get that dopamine release that you did before. So I think
yeah.
some dopamine dysregulation and some cortisol and chronic stress issues are probably the two main drivers of what
Biggest
causes this
drivers.
food
Yeah.
noise. Yeah. Because when you're chronically stressed, that stress shifts that metabolism towards glucose. Like I need quick energy, right? Like when you're stressed, your body needs to run from a bear. You need energy, you need glucose, right? And you crave that glucose, and what that does is it suppresses your digestion and it amplifies your appetite, and then that high cortisol interferes with your sleep, and then your poor sleep raises your ghrelin like up to 30%. It lowers your
Yeah.
leptin by up to 20%. It's wild.
And we can see this, right? Like so many people want to disregard sleep. And it's like, I know we talk about it's like beating a dead horse, and we're going to keep talking about it because at the end of the day, if I would be willing to bet for most women, right? Even if we took one thing at a time, now usually we're not going to do that because we want to get closer to the outcome that we desire as quickly as possible, right? And as realistically as possible. But let's say we were only able to do one thing at a time. If we were to keep all other factors the same and just focus on improving sleep and getting like optimizing circadian rhythm and getting a solid 8 hours of sleep every single night, I'd be willing to bet money that they would get a positive result out of it.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think so many shift workers are overweight?
Yeah.
Like their crazy sleep schedules mess up their hunger hormones.
Yeah. So every time my sleep is off, I'm 100% craving more crap.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then there's also the gut brain communication. And we've talked about this before, but that vagus nerve carries 80% of your messages from your gut to your brain. And so when your microbiome is imbalanced, your inflammation is high, you're just going to get fuzzy signaling, right? And your brain is going to read that as danger, and that food noise is just going to come back with vengeance, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where like the mind body loop comes in, right? So if you've, again, like I referenced earlier, if you've lived through, which most women have, years of dieting or restriction of food, your amygdala, right, the part of your brain that detects threat, is going to link food scarcity with danger, right? So even if you're trying to eat balanced now, your brain is not going to, it's going to take time for your brain to receive that message to understand, oh, it's, oh, like we can we cannot have to store everything right now, right? Like we're going to be getting food on a regular consistent basis and we can feel safe with that. Prior to that, there has been a foundation of scarcity that's been laid in most women's bodies. And so if we're operating from that place, it's like, oh, my body realizes that. And because women's bodies prioritize homeostasis above all else, because we're uh, engineered for reproductivity, right? So if my body is not safe enough to reproduce, then I'm like, it's not, other things are going to shut down to overcompensate, right? So if I'm
Yeah.
not consuming enough calories on a consistent basis to be able to support a healthy vessel that could reproduce if I wanted to, then other things are going to say, okay, well, this is not important and that's not important. And we're not going to be sending these correct hormone signals. So we have to create a sense of certainty. And that's like anything, right? I think it's really interesting. You think about most kids, right? I'm talking about like not teenagers because that's where the comparison and the bullshit starts to come into the mix. But most kids don't experience food noise. Why?
Mm-mm.
Because, and I will, let me say this, let me reposition. Most,
If you're healthy,
yes,
yes.
most kids in a household that are provided for. So I'm
Yes.
talking there's a component of privilege here, right? And and that is because their parents or the school system is ensuring that they are getting regular meals at some point of their day, right? There's not a scenario in which their body thinks, "Oh, I don't know when we're going to get another dose of calories. I don't know when we're going to get more energy. I don't know when we're going to get another amount of nourishment." Right. And so it's primed with that consistency. There's a level of certainty. And it's just like with anything else. If I am waiting for something, right, and I don't know when it's going to come, and whenever it does come, I have to take advantage or I'm going to get, right. I've got FOMO. I've got all this uncertainty. I'm operating from a scarcity mindset. I don't trust the thing that's providing what I need, right? Think about how you feel in that situation. That's how your body feels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really is about survival sometimes. It's not like you're failing morally. And, I hear women say that, like, I can't trust myself around food. And it's real. Like, I get it. And it's not, what's really happening though is like your physiology doesn't trust you yet, essentially. Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of talk in the media about quieting food noise with medications, right? So medications, and we've talked about GLP-1s before, but medications like semaglutide and tirzepatide, they do calm food noise. They're very good at calming food noise. It's why they're very good at treating addictions and alcohol and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And it's because they mimic that GLP-1, a gut peptide that essentially slows your stomach emptying. It balances your insulin and it signals satiety directly to your hypothalamus, which is your hunger center, right? So they're fascinating, but they're not magic, right? Like GLP-1s are fascinating in that, but I have also seen where they don't touch people's food noise.
Hmm.
Like I've it's all about like restoring communication between your gut and your brain and handling lifestyle stressors and stuff like that diets maybe have disrupted.
Yeah. And they may quiet that reward loop temporarily, right? But what that shows us is not that people suddenly have willpower. Right? It's that
Right.
their gut brain axis finally feels calm enough to stop scanning for the survival threats. Now, I'm not saying that that is not beneficial, right? And just like anything else, and when we've talked about GLP-1s, you have to look at what the net benefit is and does that outweigh the associated risks, right? And these are things that can be done on your own. It just takes a longer time and it takes more intentional practice.
Yeah, I think if you're using a GLP-1 to quiet food noise and you're not looking at trying to heal what's causing the food noise, then you're kind of setting yourself up for a lifetime of being on a GLP-1 medicine,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes
Or
we
when
do
you come
use
off,
this.
you're gonna experience the same thing, and then it's like this cycle.
Yeah, it's just like chronic dieting. You're gonna gain the weight right back, right?
Yeah.
And we do use them sometimes with our clients, but we're also using them with lifestyle medicine and helping our clients rebuild blood sugar stability, helping them lower inflammation, and teaching them what it feels to be safe again, essentially. So, if you're looking at what does that look like without using a medication or in conjunction with a medication, we first have to like stabilize our physiology, right? And I don't know how many times I can talk about protein to people, but you have to front load your protein, okay? 30 to 40 grams at every meal, not your like 2 eggs at breakfast.
Yeah.
That's 12 grams of protein. You need 30 to 40 grams. And that's because it lowers your ghrelin and it naturally increases your GLP-1 and PYY, which are natural satiety hormones. You never eat naked carbs. So, like, you should never just go grab a bag of Tostitos potato chips and eat them. Like, how many times have you done that? And then the bag is empty,
Right.
right? You always need to pair that with a fat and fiber so you're not getting this crazy blood sugar roller coaster that triggers cravings. I mean, how many like you can go eat ice cream and you're hungry 5 minutes later because you didn't it's literally just sugar. It's not
Well, it's
filling you up
interesting too,
at
right? It's
all.
like even with that, it's like if you were to have a higher quality ice cream, or if you were to do like a frozen Greek yogurt, right? You'll notice the difference
Yeah.
of like how much longer you're satisfied or the lack of wanting more.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to also eat consistent meals. I know intermittent fasting can be the thing, but I see so many women that do that and then they eat a 1,600 calorie meal
Yeah.
at dinner, which is awful, right? Like your body needs consistent meals. Your brain needs a rhythm, right? So we don't want you grazing all day. We don't want you skipping meals. Like those just keep your hunger hormones chaotic, right? You also have to hydrate your body. If you're dehydrated, your body is going to mimic hunger because your hypothalamus is going to just cross signal everything and you have to sleep. Like we
Yes.
talked about that a lot.
Yes.
um you need to like support your gut brain axis. So fermented foods can help a lot. Like kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, those all support short chain fatty acid production, which regulates your GLP-1 hormone. You can eat foods healthy in omega 3s because that lowers neuroinflammation and improves hypothalamic signaling. So, nuts, olive oil, things like that. You can do supplements like magnesium and zinc and B vitamins, which are all really beneficial in serotonin and dopamine for, kind of stabilizing those moods and cravings. You can do pre and probiotics. And then you most probably need to regulate your nervous system.
Yeah. Like you can't outthink food noise if your
No.
nervous system is hijacked, right? So it's like I know I say this all the time, but similar to sleep, breathing is really important and very taken for granted. And we just assume that because we have to breathe, we do it correctly. And we don't. Most of us don't, right? So can we get into some parasympathetic breathing, right? Meaning, can I intentionally make my exhale longer than my inhale? Can I try to activate my vagus nerve, right? Allowing myself to breathe fully, like all the way down into the belly, and try to incorporate some nasal breathing if I can. Grounding before meals, right? Like just allowing yourself to get down regulated into your space before you eat to lower your cortisol before you eat. So that means maybe sitting at a table and not in front of the TV, or not having your phone with you while you're eating and being distracted, not trying to rush through your meal while you're standing because you're trying to eat and do a million different things at once, like actually sitting and having your meal and getting grounded into that position. Movement, right? That is calming. So, like walking or yoga or like even some dancing, right? Like allow yourself to metabolize your stress hormones instead of like jacking them up, right? So if you find yourself as someone that is usually very upregulated or is very stressed, like choose something that allows you to downregulate, that allows you to get some space in those moments. And it can be something very easy. It could literally be, pick 3 stretches that you can do and then just go ahead and do those and breathe while you do them. And then looking at how you're talking to yourself, right? What does your mindset look like? Removing food morality. I talked about this earlier, right? Like, what meaning are we making around the food that we eat? When you label foods as quote unquote bad, right, your brain is going to assign them a higher dopamine value. It's like that rebellious, like, ooh, like I shouldn't do that thing. So it's very, very tempting, right? Creating neutral language around food is going to reduce that mental resistance, because at the end of the day, food is just food. And if we have a belief around it, or we're making a meaning out of it, then we're going to operate differently with it, right? Practicing interoception, meaning like tuning into your internal cues. We don't do this enough. So paying attention to what the body is doing when it comes to energy levels, fullness. Do I have emotions that are coming up around food? Is it actually hunger, right? How many of these things am I labeling as hunger? Very often we label discomfort as hunger, right? Because the same thing that scrolling kind of does, it's able to allow us to avoid or distract. Journaling your triggers. This is really beneficial. I know some people have some resistance to writing things down, but it is the easiest and fastest way to slow down the story that's happening in our head and prevent a spiral. So notice when the food noise gets loud, and this can help us to identify patterns. So if you notice that's like that mid-afternoon, between lunch and dinner, or right around school pickup or whatever it is, where the food noise gets loudest, is it a blood sugar dip? Or is it that you're emotionally exhausted because you have decision fatigue and you've been running ragged all day and not taking care
Mm-hmm.
of yourself, right? Like start to pick up on these patterns and how prevalent they are. And then replacing restriction with rhythm. So, like I said before, women thrive on structure, not scarcity. We need to have that stability, right? And so, predictable, nourishing meals will rewire trust with yourself and with your body much faster than any rule about, well, you can't calories in, calories out, or you have to, eat this many calories a day, or like all those things can be beneficial. And it doesn't really mean anything if your body doesn't trust you with it.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, I think as women, we're always looking for like deeper reasons, and you can find some deeper reasons why. Like if I'm sleeping good, I am got the mindset stuff down, and I still have that food noise. We can look a little deeper. Like we can look at your fasting insulin, we can check a leptin level, we can look at your thyroid, your cortisol, your estrogen, your gut microbiome, because some of those hormonal imbalances or nutrient deficiencies can amplify food noise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking for supplements that could help, like magnesium glycinate at bedtime is great. It supports cortisol regulation and it helps balance your serotonin. Some omega 3s with CoQ10, they help improve hypothalamic leptin sensitivity. Berberine and inositol are great. Berberine helps with insulin sensitivity. It can also help calm post meal cravings. You could do like some L-glutamine, especially if you're having gut health issues. Like that can really improve your gut lining and reduce sugar cravings. And
Yeah.
then
Or
you
you
can
can look at
also,
like therapeutic interventions.
yeah,
right? So like some people need to have an intervention to that level, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, can be really good with that. Trying to get into the practice of intuitive eating. Now that takes work, right? I think that term gets thrown around a lot where people are like, oh, I just want to work on intuitive eating. Most of the time that requires working with a professional or a coach to be able to get in tune with what is actually happening when you're like what signals your body is providing, how you're feeling when you are eating, how are you feeling when you're actually hungry, is something else coming up like I mentioned before. So that stuff is best paired with someone that can help you map that out and truly find out what intuitive eating means for you, because it is going to be nuanced based on the individual. Or things like somatic therapy that can help dismantle like fear-based food narratives, right? Or the story work that Crystal and I do, like those are all things where we can start to get into the core beliefs around your relationship with food, right? And coaching matters. So like I said, having someone mirror your patterns and also help you to recognize wins that maybe have nothing to do with the scale or something that you're used to looking for, that's going to also help to rewire those dopamine loops in much healthier ways.
Yeah, and like I think one thing that we've totally missed in all this is if you're someone that really struggles with food noise around a particular food, like keep the food out of your house,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're someone that can't say no to chocolate chip cookies, like don't have them in your house. I guarantee no one in your family needs them either, right? Um just like food can be an addiction, right? And you have to eat food to survive. But if you're an alcoholic, you're not going to go to the bar where there's alcohol, right? So if you're someone that really, really
Right.
struggles with food noise, try to keep some of those things that you're addicted to out of your house and fill your house with fruits and vegetables because more than likely you're not going to go overeat on apples.
Yeah, it's like setting yourself up for success, right? Like
Yeah.
if your food environment is not conducive to the changes that you're trying to make, then you're not helping yourself out. And in those moments where it feels more difficult or when your willpower stores are being tried, it's not going to be helpful if you have the thing that you struggle with the food noise the most with. That's like
Yeah.
also meeting the noise with curiosity and not criticism, I think, is really important. So asking yourself, like, am I under eating? Am I overstressed? Do I feel bored? And that's why I'm eating, right? Like, and all of that is okay. There's no wrong thing about any of those. It's just being honest with yourself and reflecting with yourself. And then choosing one thing that can help in those moments, right? Whether, like I said, it's a deep breathing or writing about it or taking a short walk to kind of give yourself some space and then reset before reacting. So that way you can gain that awareness around your own habits and what your thought patterns are when it comes to food.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that with your meals too, right? Like, what is your food noise doing after you eat a high sugar breakfast versus a high protein breakfast? What's your
Hmm.
food noise doing after doing a long fast, right? Like, I know if I go too long without food, I'm freaking hangry. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not very fun to be around, right? Um, but when we're doing these things, the, and paying attention and pausing it, it does rewire that dopamine response. And over time, you're really going to strengthen your prefrontal cortex and your wise adult brain. Um, it urges like to learn more about information than commands, right?
Yeah. Because how often do you see women where they're like, man, I don't know what's going on. I just feel like shit. Like I'm I've been running around doing stuff today and I get that, but I just don't feel good, or I'm like really agitated, or my patience is running really thin. It's like, when was the last time you ate?
Mm-hmm.
And
And not
especially
like
when
a
was the last time
granola
you had,
bar.
yeah, like when was the last time you had a full meal? Right? I'd be
Yeah,
like,
not a
oh,
protein
actually I
shake or
haven't
a
eaten
protein
anything real
bar. Yeah,
today.
yeah, yeah. That is not a meal. Those don't count as meals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see that a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, when you're stabilizing your blood sugar, when you're keeping your cortisol calm, when you're connecting to your hunger and food cues, that mental noise is going to soften, and you can kind of stop white knuckling it and start feeling grounded in it.
Yeah, because at this, just like the other things we've talked about in the past, right? Like the food noise, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's a matter of it is a signal, right? It's your body telling you that, hey, we need to be regulated and nourished, and we need to establish a relationship of trust when it comes to food. And so, if it's telling you that, it would be really beneficial to listen and lean in instead of just saying like, "Oh, this is something that I need to shut off as quickly as possible because it's irritating or it's getting in the way of something that I want." So it's your body reaching out for help. And so these are some of the ways, like we talked about today, that can help get you there. So if this episode resonated with you, or if you know somebody that's struggling with that, share it. Make sure that you're getting the message out and that there are ways and tools to help with that. And if we can stop trying to control something as much and start listening a little bit more, I think that could be across the board pretty beneficial.
Yeah, yeah. All right, ladies, see you next week.
Thank you. Have a great one.